welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with your hosts, Buddy Sotello Esquire and Evan Ginzburg. Evan, will you introduce our guest today?
Absolutely. It's my honor and privilege to introduce my friend Hurricane, JJ Maguire, master of wrestling ring music. He's done many entrance themes, WWF, WWE, WCW, 114. He's a member of Hulk Hogan's wrestling boot band. He was the character Tone Deaf on Hulk's Thunder in Paradise TV show, and a former member of the multi-million selling group The Gentrys, musical partner with the great Jimmy Hart. He is JJ Maguire. Welcome, JJ.
Hi, guys. How are you? Thank you, Evan.
It's a real pleasure to have you as our guest this week. Your resume is unparalleled. We've never had someone who's had the kind of impact on wrestling that your contributions have had towards it. And the first thing I want to ask is, how did you get started in all this?
Well, basically, Jimmy Hart and I were in the Gentrys together. And I went down an audition. Like I said in my book, I was up against Jerry Lee Lewis's drummer, and also 2 or 3 other, Ray Charles's drummer was there, and a couple of other guys. But they were excellent studio-type drummers, but they weren't rock drummers, say. They were more rockabilly, blues, and gospel, which I love as well. But they weren't hard rock drummers. So I was a hard rock drummer, and I came down. I was the last guy to go in and do the audition. And we did a song called Going Down by Don Nix. It's been covered by lots of groups this decade. But I knew the song, and I had a double bass drum set. So I played it halfway through the song. They said, whoa, stop. Jimmy Hart and his lead guitar player, who was the musical director at the time. And I thought, excuse me, well, I've scared them with this double bass drum setup. I guess that's it for me. So they said, hold on. So they kind of whispered one to one another. And then Wes Stafford, the guitar player, went out in the hall. And I figured, well, it's it for me. So I got up to take my cymbals off the stand. And as I was doing it, Wes came back in, and he and Jimmy whispered each other. And I said, well, thank you guys for the audition. I sure appreciate it. And I enjoyed it. Nice to meet you. And they said, real good, Maguire, because welcome to the Gentrys. And I about fell over. I went, wow, I thought I scared you. They said, no, we like that. That's something unique. And yeah, you're exactly what we need, because the Gentrys made it on a pop, keep on dancing. I didn't join until 72, and we covered Neil Young's Cinnamon Girl that he had on the album. But we did it as a single, and it was worldwide top 40 hit for us. But the Gentrys were heavy. That's a heavy song for the time. It's still fairly heavy. And so I had seen them a year and a half before that at Toys for Tots at Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky. I was on a bill with a regional group that we had a regional record called Gary and Sherry Edwards, and we were the Embers. We were their backup group. And we were on the same bill. Andy Kim, Paul Revere and the Raiders, all the groups that were big at that time were on the bill. And our regional group, successful group, was on there too. And then right after us, I was standing out in front of the stage and wandering around, and they said, ladies and gentlemen, here they are, the hit group you all know, the Gentrys. And I thought, yeah, I remember that song, Keep On Dancing. I never really liked it. I thought it was kind of a cheap song, and everything. And I thought, oh, well, and I got ready to walk to the back to eat some of the catered foods. I'll take advantage of that. And so all of a sudden, they whipped into Cinnamon Girl. I went, oh, my goodness gracious, wait a minute. I mean, it was so heavy. I mean, unbelievable. Of course, they did the little Keep On Dancing, and that's when I was heading for the food. But as soon as they kicked into Cinnamon Girl, I went, whoa, wait a minute. They hadn't recorded it yet. They were just, putting it on the audience to see how it went over and whatever. And but that particular band that I heard play there a year and a half prior to joining them, those guys left the band. Butler, he went down. He was vice president of RCA Nashville. All the guys wound up kind of in the administrative end of record business and whatever, very famous. And so that particular Gentrys left. And so Jimmy was putting together, Jimmy Hart to put together a new gentry. So I came in on the second batch of gentry. And we did recorded Cinema Girl and whatever, and we just went on from there. Yeah. So that's kind of where it started.
How did it get involved in wrestling? How did you know, I obviously not everybody that was in the Gentries.
I know Evan Ginzburg. You cannot stump the great Evan Ginzburg on old school wrestling. I'm sorry, but no one can stump him. No one. And he'll know why I'm saying this when I say what I'm fixing to say. The first Jimmy and I, only day we had off was on a Sunday. Now you got to remember that the opening group for the Gentries were as follows: Steppenwolf, Chicago. They opened for us.
Wow.
Because they hadn't had any big hits yet. You know, we were touring and we were top of the bill, and then it was they, you know. But anyway, back to Evan. So we had a Sunday off. It was the only day we had off. We were playing concert dates. We were playing the feature club dates at the Big Daddy's Corporation off through Florida. They had one on the pier in Daytona, down in all the major cities, Florida. So anyway, on a Sunday, Jimmy said, "Maguire, let's go to the wrestling matches." And I said, "Yeah, I like wrestling. I've watched it my whole life as a kid. Yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah." He said, "Okay." So we went down. He said, "A friend of mine's wrestling." I said, "Who's that?" He said, "Sputnik Monroe, brother." I went, "Yeah, I've heard of Sputnik. Yeah, he's something, isn't he? He's a great talker." Yeah, cool. So we went out there and we sat up in the very back of the auditorium in Orange County. And here comes Sputnik. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Evan's probably seen Sputnik in his day, I would say. He got a pop as big as Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Before a Hulk. Unbelievable. I mean, the roof was falling in on this place. This guy. And the fans just went crazy. And the people of color just went berserk over him. They just took him in as one of their own, so to speak. And other people too. But he had a great people of color following because of his banter and the way he talked. "That's right, baby." He had all that Dusty Rhodes type stuff going before there was Dusty Rhodes stuff. And so when it was over, he knew Jimmy from Memphis, but Jimmy never took his eyes off the ring through the whole thing. I go, "Hey, Jimmy, what do you think about it?" He wouldn't even hear me. I mean, I was sitting right like I'm close to you guys. And I knew that there was something there that he was looking at that really meant way big something to him, And so then when it was over, we gave Sputnik a ride back to the hotel, and the people threw mud all over our car and everything because they were mad at him. And I mean, you talk about a heel generating hate. Wow. And so anyway, I got to meet him. He was the first famous wrestler that I ever met, And so we gave him a ride back to the hotel. I mean, we couldn't even get in the building or out of the auditorium without just mobs. I mean, you would have thought it was Hogan or somebody. Seriously. And so that was my first encounter with a wrestler. And then from there, Jerry Lawler, a few years later, we took some time off from the Gentries, and Jerry Lawler asked Jimmy Hart to sell his merch out on the gimmick tables in the lobby. Okay. So Jimmy was just selling posters and, huckstering the King Lawler stuff, out there in the lobby. He wasn't a manager or anything. And so King came up and he said, "Jimmy, did we sell some stuff tonight?" And I was up there with Jimmy helping sell him the merch, and in the lobby at Rupp Arena, as a matter of fact, up here in Lexington. And so I said, "Yeah, King, we knocked a home run tonight. It's really great. Let me tell you something. Every time the WWE or F in the day came to Rupp Arena, they pulled a curtain across a quarter of the auditorium. But when Jerry Lawler and Mid-South and whatever were there, they packed the whole arena. I don't think WWE ever packed the entire Rupp Arena unless it was a pay-per-view or whatever. But, of course, this was before WWF really got that big steamrolling momentum going and whatever. But so anyway, so Lawler says to Jimmy when I was walking down the hall with him after the gig, he says, "Jimmy, have you ever thought about being a ring manager?" And Jimmy looked at me and he looked over to King Lawler and said, "No, King." He said, "How do you do that?"
Yeah.
And King said, "Don't worry, I'll show you how." Well, the rest is history. But that's really the true story. And so a few weeks later, I got a phone call, and it was Jerry Lawler and Jimmy Hart on a conference call. And Maguire, this is Jerry Lawler. I said, hey, King, how are you? I sure enjoyed the show when I was up there a few weeks back. I said, I want to do a record. I want to sell a record out there in the lobby at the Gimmick Station. And Jimmy and I said, Jimmy said, if you can do it with it, you guys can put it together for me. I said, sure, King, I'd love to do that. He said, what do you charge? I said, well, wow, you caught me by surprise. I don't really know what to say. I'm honored just to be able to do it. He said, how about $1,000 for the first class ticket to Memphis, the Hyatt Regency Hotel, and all your food? I said, oh, King, when you need me, tomorrow?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this was late 70s, you know. And so that following Monday, I got on the plane. It's just what he said. We went to Sam Phillips recording. Of course, I already knew Sam Phillips through the Gentry because we had recorded our music there. And Sam was executive producer of the Gentry, but his son Knox, who recently passed away, sadly, was our actual hands-on producer. And we did all that at Phillips recording. And so anyway, came in. And so what we did is Jimmy and I decided that we would take Neil Sedaka's Breaking Up Is Hard to Do and rearrange it disco style. This was disco era, you know. So that's what we did. And I remember I rented a brand new Roland synthesizer that did all the really fabulous whoop-de-doo sounds that, you know, was really something. I remember we paid extra $100 or something to have a guy bring it over. And it hadn't even been released to public yet, but it gave it that disco sound, you know. And so Lawler, Jimmy sang the track, and then Lawler sang along with him, and then we pulled Jimmy's lead track off of it and just heard Lawler. Lawler did a pretty good job for a non-musician singer. And wow, that thing sold like hotcakes. Now this is before WWF ever had a record. So really, to me, the first actual record done around wrestling sold was Jerry Lawler. Yeah. And so that's how that started. And then we wound up doing a thing for the Ballad of the Handsome Jimmy Valiant. And that sold great. And the Boogie Woogie Man, you guys know him.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, he stayed at Evan's house. Evan knows him like a brother. But, yeah, what great guys and great talents. And, you know, there's a lot of battling over old school versus new school versus whatever. But I'll be honest with you, as Evan and people like us at the age we're at, we've lived through a whole lot of school, you know. And I think that, to me, today, the characters just don't run with it. See, back when we started and did all this, the talent could ad-lib for a day on anything, you know, and that's a real talent, and they all had it, and as history shows. But I would like to see a blend of wrestling to come to a point today, in my opinion. Now, I'm the music guy. I am a licensed wrestler in the state of Kentucky because I owned at one time part of a regional wrestling company here, you know, throwing punches and taking bumps and whatever. I've done some of that. Evan's done that. He looked like Kato in the picture I saw.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I would like to see it be a blend of the grandeur of old school and the seriousness of old school, combined with elements of new school too. But I think what we're seeing now is mostly just new school idiom. They would do well, in my opinion, to blend in, you know, make it serious, but put the glitz on top like it was, you know, in the beginning. I mean, you know, Bobo Brazil and, you know, a lot of Gorgeous George, come on. You don't get over the top any more than those kind of guys, you know. But yet they were technical wrestlers and great entertainers. And I think wrestling business today as a whole is concentrating more on what they think is entertainment value more than the serious part of how wrestling started. Now, that's just my opinion, you know. But I'd like to see a blending of old school and new school for the fans, you know. And I think it's going to come to that because it's just the grandeur of it is not there like it was in the day.
Certainly not with empty arenas.
Yeah, especially that, and that's killing wrestling in my opinion.
JJ, out of all the ring entrance music you've done, what are some of the ones that you're proudest of?
Oh, well, Evan, thanks for that question. I love them all, of course, but I really I enjoyed a lot the demolition theme. You know, that's one of my favorites. Shawn Michaels is the most played theme in wrestling. And the fans, on a fan question, I think that would be one of the top fan likes because he had so many appearances, on so many shows. And I just really like them all. And of course, I like the American Made that we did for Hulk for WCW. But that's a tough question. I really love all the themes. I love the characters. I tried to put that love of the characters, into the music to fit them. Jimmy and I, we didn't try to come up with themes that made us look like somebody. We came up with themes that made the characters look like somebody. So I had to do all kinds of styles for it. Jazz, rock, pop, rap, all that sort of thing. But I can't really say I have one favorite theme, but I just love them all so much. That's a hard question to pin down into one theme.
But you were getting to a point, to a question I really wanted to ask you, which is exactly what you were talking about. How do you match a song with a wrestler? What goes through your mind when you're thinking, this here I'm looking at Brutus the Barber Beefcake? What sort of music am I going to come up with him? How did you see his character and translate that into musical notes? I'm fascinated with that. I'm fascinated with that process.
Well, this is really strange. While you were reiterating that information, my mind was saying Brutus Beefcake, and then you spoke of Brutus Beefcake, and that's a good example. We've got Wrestling ESP here. Brutus's theme. What I would do is, to answer your question from the beginning, is I would go to the arenas and I would watch the character. I would look at their gimmick. I would look at their outfit. I would listen to their banter. Take in all the elements of what they are, and then go back to the back. And I had a portable setup in the back, right next to the locker room, and start putting something together. Then Jimmy would come back in between matches and go, "Maguire, have you got anything for Brutus?" I said, "I think so." I play a little lick or two, and he'd listen and go, "That sounds good." He said, "Check mark that, and when you go back home, complete it. We just do a little outline." And so then I'd come back home to my home studio. Those first themes, like Superfly, Snuka, and Brutus, those original themes were all recorded in my bedroom at my parents' house on College Street here in. And of course, I started out on a 4-track set. Brutus' theme was done on that. So was Superfly. But then I progressed to a reel-to-reel setup, then progressed to better machines as time went on, and we went to the studio. I would record the basic rhythm track at home. Once I had a thing called an Akai Model 1214, which is an all-in-one console that uses a thing that looks like a beta videotape, but it's cobalt dope tape, and it has superior sound quality. Paul McCartney had one. The heavy hitters, Stevie Wonder had one. I had one. It was the big deal because you could actually record pretty much close to studio masters right with this portable setup. It was pretty big. It was 2 people. But I would take that to the Coliseum and scratch out the basic rhythm track to the keyboard and drum machine, whatever. Then I'd take that home and refine that. And then, come back, either send it to the office or come back to the next show the next weekend and hand it to them. So that's, I hope that answers your question. We did it in a lot of different ways. Now, Jimmy usually tells a story. He says, "Yeah, we hired some guitar players." Well, no, the only other guitar player that ever played on any of the things that we did was the guy that played on American Made. did some diddly diddly lead competitions, whatever. I was ill and couldn't be there for the final mix. So with Todd Plant sang it for us, which he's a great vocalist, by the way, the American made. But he only way he'd do it, he wanted to use his guitar player. Well, I wasn't there to supervise that. So, but anyway, they did what they did and mixed it and went from there. But no, I played on the majority of the stuff. We just brought in very few. We brought in a sax player one time, and we brought in a couple of guest vocals. But in reality, I played 98% of all the instruments on the majority of the original hits. I played everything. We didn't use the band. You know, I did it all.
Wow.
And Jimmy wrote the lyrics, and Jimmy made suggestions like when I did the Rockers theme. You know, it just kind of went dun 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 dun. Jimmy said, "Wait a minute, Maguire. You see how fast if they run to the ring?" I went, "Yeah, they're a blur." He said, "Yeah, that's too slow." I said, "You know what, Jimmy? You're exactly right. Dun 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 dun. There you go." But if he hadn't made that suggestion, that might have been a dud theme, you know. So that's how we work. Jimmy gives me the leeway, create the music, then he makes suggestions that the common listener would hear or make. But together we have like ESP. We just look at each other and bingo boingo. We were able to fabricate these things in that. And Jimmy wrote fabulous lyrics. I mean, the lyrics to all those songs, you know, Demolition, Sexy Boy, and, you know, Jimmy did all that lyrical work, you know, and together it really wasn't all about me. It wasn't all about Jimmy Hart. It was about Jimmy Hart and J.J. Maguire. Jimmy had the spotlight, and I was kind of like the puppet master, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, kind of like Vince was, you know. We were puppet master. But those guys already had the spotlight, and I wasn't worried about that. I just wanted to create good music, so I laid low. I didn't really tell people I was doing the music. People found out, just went crazy, and I thanked them, but I never really was reaching for the spotlight because those guys already had it, and by them having the spotlight, I was able to add the icing on their cake, so to speak. But my son came home from school a few years back, and he was 14 at the time, and he said, "Dad, would you text these kids here?" I said, "What is this?" He said, "They asked me if my dad was the wrestling music man, and they didn't believe it. They said, would you text them and tell them it's really you?" And so I did. And so I got to thinking, if kids that young were interested in what I did decades ago, then I probably owe it to the people and those kids to come out and let people know who I am and exactly what my role was in all. But for decades, I was invisible. You saw my name on the product, and the hardcore fans knew that I wrote a lot of the music. But, you know, I wasn't that worried about being noticed, known that much. Didn't matter to me. I was just having fun doing the music, making money. And but that's why I decided to do things like this, come out and talk to the people because they were very interested. And I've had people come to meet and say, "We came to see you." And I said, "Well, Sting's right here. What are you coming to see me for? You got Sting right next to me. I can't believe that you're coming to see me." He said, "No, we've already seen Sting about 7 times, but we love your music from day one. It's the fabric of our youth, and so on and so on." And I'm just completely blown away by that. I guess I never thought it was that important, you know. But obviously it was extremely important to a lot of people. And so I figured they want to hear about it. So I just told Jimmy the other night, I talked to him and I said, "You know, the reason I do these meet and greets stuff like you do is because for me, the fans want to know how we did the music, like the question you just asked. They want to talk about that. And so I enjoy talking to the fans and answering their questions, whatever. And it's a thrill for me too. But they wouldn't have needed any music or me or Jimmy Hart or Hulk Hogan. You know, WWF and Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson and those people, they built a forum and a stage for wrestlers, entertainers, I guess jugglers and magicians and whatever. But, you know, without the rest there wouldn't have been any need for me even talking today. So I owe it all to the wrestlers and the fans. I wouldn't have a story at all if it wasn't for the people, that enjoy this and allowed me to use the talent I was given, to show that on a pretty broad stage. I was fortunate.
Which of the wrestlers were most appreciative to you and Jimmy for, the music that helped get them over in certain cases?
Would you say that the first part? I couldn't hear you on the first part.
Which of the wrestlers were most appreciative? Did anybody ever approach?
Yeah, which wrestlers really loved their themes?
Well, they actually all of them were honky, and I mean the guys wouldn't go out unless they had their music. I've actually been at WWF shows. One time at Madison Square Garden, where a famous wrestler said, "I'm not going out there." Well, we can't find your music. Let's go something on. I'm not going. I'm not going. I mean, people paid money to see this guy, but he's not going unless his music's there. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of panic over this. The boys really were insistent on their music, and I was appreciated from top to bottom, from management to the guys that set the ring up, the ring boys. Everybody was always nice to me. Everybody. Dusty Rhodes, you name them. They treated me like I was gold because they realized that the music did play an important part of their character and what they were doing. It wasn't everything. The bill of Demolition, when I appeared at Heroes and Legends, Fort Wayne here last year, he told me, he said, "Maguire," he said, "if you hadn't written that music for us, I don't think we'd have been as popular." I said, "Wait a minute, Bill." I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "If y'all came out to a kazoo band, you'd still be one of the greatest tag teams ever hit a ring." He said, "No."
Watch out. Vince may be stealing that.
Music we knew how to do really made a total package for us. And he was telling the fans coming up to him, I left my table for minutes to take pictures with him. And he was telling all the fans coming up, "Hey, y'all, this is the guy that wrote our music. This is him. And some guy was walking by with a guitar that he's having different wrestling time. He handed it to me, so I started playing the Demolition.
Yeah.
People started clapping, and it was like a little impromptu show. But I realized how much all this means to the fans and the people. And I'm just thankful that I've done something that made people happy.
And how do you feel knowing that 100 years from now, the music of the Gentrys, your wrestling music will still be out there and people still enjoying it long after we're all gone?
Well, I hope that's a truism. I'd like for it to be. I made myself available to situations that needed a person like me. I didn't sit at home, and even though I could play all the instruments like a Todd Rundgren or a Paul McCartney or whatever, I didn't think I was those people that, oh yeah, somebody's going to call me. No, I made myself available to have these opportunities. And I left my home, the comforts of my home, and mom and dad and all that stuff. I went out there and met it head to head, and I got a chance and I ran with it. And that's just about all you can do.
Now, I have a question, and it's maybe a deeper concept, which is, why do you think rock and roll and wrestling have such a strong bond between them, more than any other music?
That's a good question. I think because of the energy level with both aspects. Energy is in wrestling. The energy that's in good rock and roll music. It motivates people. I mean, you guys have been to enough wrestling matches to understand that. And Evan, especially a live concert and so forth. It generates a level of excitement, and I like it because it takes people away from their troubles for a little while. That's why I got into pop music. I was a classical trained musician, and I just like to see people dancing and smiling and having fun. And I knew that was for me, and I just stayed with that.
So yeah, that's where I was also going with that, which is that where do you feel for you there's that link between performing as a musician, and you said you've done some wrestling stuff and with you're promoting itself. where do you feel there's that intersection between the two performance arts?
Well, they could do wrestling matches without music, and they have, and they did. But once the music is played and it attached itself to a character, that's all she wrote. The promoters and the wrestlers and the fans, everybody realized that this connection of music and character was added a little extra zip. So, yeah.
JJ, who are some of your musical influences? Any genre?
Yeah, Evan, everything. You kind of know what I like. We've talked about it off the record. I love, like you, I love a lot of greats that, like I saw the Mills brothers do Glowworm live. I was like 20 feet away from them. Couldn't believe it. I was only 10 years old at the top of the mark in Chicago. My uncle took me. He liked jazz, and, so I was turned on to a lot of different jazz. And I like jazz, I like rock, I like pop. Of course, most of my influence wound up being in the rock field, the Beatles, and Stones, and Cream, and the heavy music, and Jimi Hendrix. And, but don't mistake me. My father loved big bands. He was World War II vet. I wasn't born until they were 42 years old. And so every Saturday morning when he's off from work at 7:30, he'd crank that radio up downstairs. I'd get Glenn Miller and everybody. Whether I wanted to hear it or not, I had to hear it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I did. And I really appreciate and love all the great masters of jazz and blues and blue notes and all that stuff. Evan is more of an expert on all that than I'll ever be, but and he's seen a lot of those great acts of where he lives up there and everything. And I'm just down here in a little small town, But I love all music. I never was a big opponent of country music because people always came to me, "Oh, you're from Kentucky. I bet you can do country music." And I go, "No, country music's okay, but I'm not. It's not my interest. My interest is in other types." And people were kind of baffled on that. So, well, you're not that far from Nashville. And I said, "Well, it's okay, but I like the modern music, I call it." And so that's the route I had. But I've had music. I played in the stage jazz band when I was in high school. They loved me because I could ad lib good. I learned my scales, my chromatic, all that sort of thing. And so the teacher she would paddle half the guys in the band about once every day just because they would be talking or whatever. And she never lifted that paddle and touched it. I could talk all I wanted. But I was a piano player. Don't spank the piano player.
Yeah. As one of the Gentrys, what was your greatest memory? Was there a particular gig, a particular event that really sticks out?
Sure. We did a gig up in Indianapolis, Indiana, at this club down on the river that was really famous. I forget the name of it. It's called Pirates Cove, I believe. And it was a pretty tough joint. I mean, they had bikers in there. And, you didn't. If you weren't a pretty good fighter or a talker, you better not come in. But it was a real popular club. And so anyway, the Gentrys, we had a gig there. They said, "Well, your rooms are upstairs." We went upstairs and they had prison mattresses thrown on the floor.
Yeah.
And mice running around.
Wow.
And I'm going, "This is a rib, isn't it? This has got to be a rib." And he said, I said, they were paying us an exuberant amount of money to perform, so you'd think this would be a beautiful, shiny new venue or something. It was just kind of a dump of a thing on the river. And we said, "Thanks a lot, but these rooms just aren't up to par. We'll if you'll pay us an extra $350, we'll get our own motel room down the road again." Okay. So they said, "Okay." We packed the place out every night. They made plenty of money. They didn't mind. But so what I'm getting to is, so we hit the last note of the evening. The Gentrys, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it. Yeah. Okay, then thank you. So then we loaded up all our gear, jumped in the station wagon, pulled in the trailer, and drove straight to Daytona. after playing the gig, we didn't get any sleep or anything.
Yeah.
And so we got there early at the Big Daddy's in Fort Lauderdale. And we were there early before the guy come and open up to let us in to take our equipment in. I mean, we were slap happy, from driving that distance and not sleeping and everybody in the vehicle together. I think the Army would have been sent. And so we were early. So they had a little cove thing built around the doors where you walk in, but it's all locked up. We were so tired that we went to the vehicle and got out pillows and laid in that cove because the air conditioning from inside the building was coming out from underneath the doors, kind of filling that enclosure around the doors. So we took our pillows and laid on the concrete and slept for about 3 hours until the guy showed up. And the guy shows up and he said, "I thought somebody had been killed." He said, "Here's the Gentry, ladies and gentlemen. We're all sprawled out on the there in front of the door." Wow. And but anyway, and then the next night, Colonel Sanders was the guest judge for a wet T-shirt contest. Okay?
Wow!
And we were too. We were judges with him.
Good gig.
I'd already met the Colonel in Kentucky because he had been at some functions that I'd played music at up there. So I already kind of knew him. And he said, "Hey, it's good to see you again." And they went, "How do you know the Colonel?" I said, and I told them, I said, "Wow." So anyway, but he had these beautiful girls, young girls on each arm. And so we stood up there with him, Jimmy Hart, myself, and Colonel Sanders, Chicken King, and we judged that contest. And it was a big hit. We had a great time. He got back in the limo. We took the picture. There you go.
Yeah.
So it's just unbelievable. I mean, the things that we were catapulted into that had no idea it would be happening. But yeah, that's all real. That all really happened.
There you go, buddy.
Yeah, no, that's a really great story. I wanted to know a little bit more about when you what sort of input would you get from the wrestlers to help customize the music for them, and what was that like working directly with? Did any of the wrestlers say, "You know what, this could be faster," or "This I'd like to see something that was harder or more edgy," or that they gave you feedback as to how they? I know you talked about the Rockers thing, but that was more from Jimmy Hart. I would like to hear maybe if any of the wrestlers you worked with gave you feedback.
No, actually, no. Everything what we came up with, Vince come down to the production room and say, "Boss, we got something ready for you." And he go, "Okay, hit it." So I'd have my little portable rig set up, and have a drum machine, and then I'd have some tracks recorded and play along. The vocals go like this, boss. Blah 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 blah. While I'm playing along with the track, whatever. And he never turned down anything. "Sounds great, guys. Press it up. Thanks, boss." No. And so no, the wrestler said, "Well, what do you got?" But Diamond Dallas Page did come to us, and he said he wanted something like Team Spirit. I said, "Dallas, that's going to be tough because if we pop those same chords, they're going to screw it." So, well, get as close as you can legally. Okay, I wasn't too happy about it, but I said, okay. So anyway, I did a little cassette demo of what wound up being the theme. And a friend of ours, I wasn't able to get to Florida to play the whole track. So we had a friend of ours named Howard Helm who did some recording work at the studio that we used, Morris Sound, down in Tampa. And he took the cassette with the outline that I did, and then he actually played the instruments on Self High Five, but he just did what I played, He just copied the same licks, arrangement, whatever. But I wasn't able to get down there quick enough to get it constructed, and so we had him do a couple of things for us, but all he did was just take the arrangement and chords, whatever that I had, and just make the final words. But that was only, I think, one or two times in the history of our writing and doing that we had Howard help us out. I was in a pinch, when I couldn't get them. He's a real nice guy and very talented as well. But yeah, I did the cassette outline at Jimmy's house in his son's bedroom. I took Casio keyboard and my guitar and did a little track not mine. And then Howard took that and did the final recording of her. He did a great job on that, but I'm glad he did because in case there's a suit, they'd have to go after him more than me. But there wasn't a suit because it was enough different that it didn't infringe on any copy.
JJ, tell us about your book.
Yeah, here it is, ladies and germs.
There you go.
My life in Heaven Town. Yeah. The book is got, it's not just about wrestling. It talks about my career in the motion picture business at Glen Sound Company in Hollywood. And I worked with all the celebrities, Henry Winkler, Bob Hope, Valerie Bertinelli, Farrah Fawcett. I could have been dating and probably married Farrah Fawcett, but I didn't want Ryan O'Neal shooting at me.
Yes.
But she actually, there's a part in the book, she actually kissed me in the coffee room because I listened to her sad story about him. And but anyway, I don't want to tell the whole story because I want people to get the book. You know, to read the book. But anyway, I worked with some of the greatest A-list celebrities in history of Hollywood, and that was really a great job. I was basically a feather duster. Bob Hope came in, and he was doing the vocal looping for his military shows. You know, get at Christmas, those things, and he's looping the dialogue on some of it. And he came in, and I said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Hope. My name's John Maguire. Nice to see you." He said, "Ho, ho, ho, wait a minute." I went, "Yes, sir?" He said, "Listen, Mr. Hope's dead. That was my father. He's long gone." He said, "Call me Bob." I said, "Can I call you Uncle Bob?" He laughed and went, "Oh, no, not another comedian." He said, I thought, "Oh, wow, I made the funniest guy and one of the funniest comedians in history laugh. Wow, I'm really doing something. Wow, I can't believe it. I'm still blown away by it." And so anyway, we had a little routine going there, going down the hall. And I said, "Well, Bob, what calls do you want to come through? Do you need cheese and beer on the set, or my job was to feather dust for the celebrities basically while they're there." And so he said, "No." He said, "I told nobody to call. Only person that's going to call might be my wife. Other than that, tell them to go to hell." I said, "Okay, we'll do that." And so anything else you need, here's you can ring me at extension 245, and I'll be Johnny on the spot, whatever you take care of. He said, "John, you're a good old Southern boy, aren't you?" He said, "You know something? This is in my book too." He said, "Y'all got good burgoo up there." I said, "Yeah, we invented burgoo." He said, "Man, oh man, do you have a recipe?" I said, "Yeah, somewhere." He said, "Next time I come back, I want that recipe." I said, "Okay, Uncle Bob, I'll sure do that." And so he said, "You're something else." And he just was the most kind guy you'd ever meet. He's like your Uncle Bob. Seriously. And I found that the biggest and greatest celebrities of stature were the most humble and normal acting people, you know. And Henry Winkler, for example, same way, nicest guy you'd ever meet in your whole life. Just really nice people, you know. And I had the fortunate ability to work directly with these people and get to know them. So that was a good experience for me and something I'll never forget. And it's all in the book, too.
How do we order the book?
You get the book. You can go to eatsleepwrestle.com and get an autographed copy from John Cosper, my author, or you can order it without the autograph and come and see me when the meet and greet start up again, and I'll sign it for you that way. You can get that on Amazon. My Life in Heaven Town on Amazon and eatsleepwrestle.com.
Anything else? Anything else you'd like to plug?
Oh yeah,
Anything
please.
else you'd like to promote?
You guys for having me on, you know.
Oh, we're not
this
done
is
with
great.
you yet. We just want to make sure you got in. You know, we're not pulling the plug on you. We just wanted to see if you. We want to make
I'm
sure
so
you.
appreciative that guys like yourself are, do these shows and give people opportunity to know a little more about the background things they might not know about.
Oh yeah, no, I still, I have a couple extra questions that I wanted to find out about with your creative process, because it's just, to me, so fascinating. One thing that I sort of feel is that, not to disparage on anybody else's hard work, but I find the wrestling themes of today are very flat. They seem, they don't seem to have a whole lot of individuality behind them or anything that makes them memorable in the way your themes have stuck around over the ages. And you said people have said, that's part of my childhood. Now if I think of like the last 4 or 5 wrestling shows that I've seen, can I think of a wrestler's theme song right now? Not really, unless they're going with something totally retro. Why do you think that wrestling themes have gotten so just sort of genericized and don't have that specialty level to them currently?
Well, one thing is because you have so many wrestlers now. You have so many different leagues. 17 dozen wrestlers in each league. It's mind-boggling how many people's out there, talent-wise. I think the characters, when we did the music during our time and whatever, the characters were phenomenal. I don't think that a lot of the characters today have that over-the-top pizzazz that the older characters had. Even before WWF kind of went Hollywood, so to speak, or carnival, or whatever term someone's trying to put on it. But the fans at that time, they liked the Hollywood carnival-ish, over-the-top, colorful effect. And I think our music went along with that. But you don't have the color in wrestling today that you had during all what I'm talking about with it. So it's hard to add a dynamic color to something that isn't that colorful to start. I'm not saying everybody in every wrestler, but there's some colorful wrestlers somewhat in the business. But, it's just become big business and corporate. And when WWF was run by 2 people owned it, 4 people ran it, you could, it was a lot simpler. And the characters really, like Honky, I was talking to him the other night. He said, Maguire, we didn't think this thing would last a couple of years. He says, so we put 190% into it. We figured it wasn't going to last. And I said, well, y'all sure did. And thank you very much. You are a beautiful audience. And I did his theme as well. And like I'm saying, colorful. Just look at his outfit. Look at he and Jimmy Hart in the promos. They look like they rummaged through Liberace's closet.
Yeah.
I hadn't got any of that today.
What would be more exciting for you? A musical solo or a wrestling promo in front of a crowd?
Say that again, please.
If you had a chance to solo, for your band, or to actually cut a promo for a wrestling crowd, what would be more exciting for you?
That's a good question. I like them both the same. They both have elements that are dynamic and exciting in their own way. I love to perform. I do a one-man show where I do a few of the wrestling things. I wrote for Baywatch. I wrote Under Paradise. It's not just all wrestling. It's a blend of things that were sold in the marketplace. And I love to perform, and because you got one chance at it, it's like the promos and stuff, live stuff that WWF talent did in the day. And before that, you got to be able to project. When the camera turns on and the mic's on, you got to get going, or you'll be left behind. And I like performing, but I probably have gained the most traction of attention through the theme work, obviously.
That's really interesting. And then also, we didn't really touch on your Thunder in Paradise experience. And so I'd like to just get a few minutes in of what it was like, being on a set versus being in musical performance versus being in the ring. Those are all performances, but in very different worlds.
That's correct. Jimmy called me and said they need an end theme for the show. They're not real excited about the opening theme, but they've already spent a lot of money to get the video footage, film footage to go with what they've got. But they don't have an end theme yet. And can you come up with something? I went, yeah, it seems to me like if it's a beach show and everything, whatever, they need something reggae. I said, yeah, sounds good. See what you can do. So it took me about 10 minutes to come up with Thunder in Paradise end theme. So I called Jimmy and I played over the phone to him. He said, "Sounds good." He said, "Can you come down a day after tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah, I'll get in the car and drive down because I got some friends down there." He said, "No, we got a hotel room for you and everything. Come on down." Okay, so I took the track down, and then Jimmy and I got together, and Jimmy wrote the words. He heard the rhythm track, and then he sat there. When the sun goes down in paradise, girls look pretty, who they look nice. You know, cashed it right out. Okay, so Burt Bonin and Schwartz, who also produced the Baywatch show, they were producing Thunder in Paradise during their time off in the summer down at Disney in Orlando. So they came to hear it. They sat 4 or 5 feet in front of us. I hope I didn't spit on them when he was playing. But they sat there with their arms crossed. We played the theme, and Jimmy, I had the tracks going, and I played along with it too. And Jimmy sang the lyrics live. We got to the end of it. They leapt out of the chairs and started hugging us, kissing us, shaking and high-fiving and going crazy and going, "Oh, my God." I mean, these guys were on cloud 9. And I was kind of taken away. I thought maybe, well, is this some kind of work or something? I don't know. And so they were just ecstatic. And so then Greg Bonin comes up to me and says also, they shook our hands, said, "That's it." And then Doug Schwartz said, "Fire that reggae band out there on the beach. We don't need them anymore. They're gone. Fire them right now." So they'd had a segment in the pilot show where they had a reggae band. Chris Lemon played the keyboard, sang something, whatever. But those guys were true Rasta people, and they couldn't speak fluent English. So when they heard that and saw how we looked, goodbye to them. And then Greg Bonin comes up to me and says, "Maguire, how long are you planning on being down here?" I said, "Well, I brought 4 pairs of underwear and socks.
Yes.
Figured I'd come do the theme, and we got lucky here on this, and I was going to visit a friend and go home." He said, "No." He said, "You better get out to Target today and buy plenty of underwear and socks because you're on the show. You're a character on the show. You." I went, "What? Hello? Did I hear that? What?" Another example of my life in heaven now. He said, "Yep, you're on the show. You're a character. What would you like your character's name to be?" I went, "Oh, is this real?" I said, "How about Tone Deaf?" He went, "Perfect. Write it down in the script. Tone Deaf. That's just who he is." Told the PA. "Okay, great." So I went to Target, bought more underwear and socks, and then I was in the show and featured on it, wrote the theme, and then wrote a lot of the montage music for it, and was a character on the show. So that it's just another unbelievable moment, you know. Didn't expect that, and it was a great experience, and the people were nice, and the production crew was great people, and we all got along great. Just a fabulous experience. Huck was kind enough to include me on the show. And because Huck was one of the executive producers, he could have said, "No, I don't want Maguire on the show because he looks like a jabroni." No, Huck, he wanted me on the show. And but they came up, and they hadn't talked to Huck about putting me on the show. After we played the theme right there, Huck wasn't even there for that. And that was their idea. Then Huck came wandering in after all this happened and said, "Well, Jimmy Jam had you and Maguire do." I said, "Well, we got the theme, and they want Maguire as a character too." Huck said, "Great, Maguire. Yeah, you need to be a character on the show. Great, welcome." Yeah, okay, great. I'm here. Here I am. So that's how that went.
Wow. Well, that's really.
You're not looking for a 4-leaf clover, but you trip, and there it is.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow. No, you really had an incredible life when you got and all the things that you were involved in. I just wanted to know any thoughts that you have for the future of where wrestling is now, and also the future of wrestling music. Where do you think it might be headed in the next decade?
I don't think that the wrestling music is quite as predominant as it was. We did what we did. It's an important part of it, but it's not as important as it was. I'm not saying that we were. Well, I guess we were the cause of it. I don't know. But me, the music, like you said, a lot of it has become generic. And but there's still some pretty good music too. But the music isn't featured at as high of a level as it was. We've done what we've done, and I think there's a future for wrestling music, but not like it was. Not like it was. don't have characters to back it up as dynamic as you did with what we did. You have some dynamic characters, but gosh, let's admit it. Everybody that came through that curtain was dynamic. You know, always when Gorgeous George came through that curtain, that's all she wrote. You know, you know, and that was Hollywood over the top stuff. What his character, you know, and if I remember correctly, Evan, you correct me on this, but didn't he and Baron von Raschke change characters? Did they exchange characters? In other words, the Baron came out in the cage, they did all that stuff, and but George and he got together and they decided to swap the characters. Have you ever heard that story?
No, that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I was told that story. Look into that. The
Okay.
House of Genius figure that out.
Okay.
Anyway, but entertainment is what's important here. All the notes in the world and being a talented musician or classical artist or whatever, that's good, that's okay. But the bottom line is entertainment. You have to construct these things to entertain people. If you're just doing it to entertain yourself, that's one-dimensional. But like we wrote the wrestling themes to be three-dimensional and match a three-dimensional character. So the music had to fit a three-dimensional aspect. And that's what we did. And I'm just happy that I had the opportunity and got to know some greatest wrestlers that ever lived, and work directly with them and do the music. It's just been a blessing for me. And wrestling has given me the highlight of my life. Plain and simple.
Wow.
That's wonderful. Make sure that you give the contact information so people would know how to get your book if they're interested.
Yes, you can contact me for bookings or appearances or questions or whatever you have. You can reach me at J Maguire, that's all lowercase. It's spelled J, one J, Maguire 325 at gmail.com.
That's
Glad to
wonderful.
answer, booking whatever you got, send it there. And again, you can get my book, plug. Is it okay? My Life in Heaven Town. There it is.
There you go.
You can get that on, hey, look, there's me and Hulk Hogan recording
Yep.
the album. You guys have seen that picture.
There you
And
go.
there's a lot of cool pictures in here of a lot of your favorite wrestling stars today. And then, of course, here I am in the Wrestling Boot Band. See that? Yeah. Anyway, but you can get the book at eatsleepwrestle.com for an autographed copy. And it's very affordable. It's only like $14.95 or whatever. Even if you're out of work, you should be able to afford to buy the book.
Yeah.
And so, and then you can also get it, My Life in Heaven Town, on Amazon.com. Well,
Wonderful. Wonderful. You've been a fantastic guest. Really appreciated your time today. We'd love to have you as a guest in the future. Evan, do you have any closing words?
Any future projects you'd like to mention, JJ?
Here's my closing statement. Let me get it straight. God gave me talent, so I took it to the greatest show on earth, traveled the world with the greatest of all time, unbelievably entertained people of color in all walks of life. Who knew that wrestling is such a powerful force? I did.
That's an amazing note to end on. Thank you so much. We'll see everyone next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.